Time magazine, revealing that the population for fair-skinned Europeans is declining and they cannot keep up with the fruitfulness and abundance of replenishing the earth. They can't keep up. Life expectancy dropped in 2017. The average American could expect to live to 78.6 years old in 2017, down from 78.7 in 2016. Deaths by suicide and drug overdose continues to claim more American lives. They are talking about in the so-called white community. So-called. There's no such thing as blacks. There's no such thing as whites. But because y'all use those terms, they are giving you the information in the terms and the brands that they've given you. So for all of you individuals who identify with being a white European, even though there's no such thing as a white European, but they're letting you know your deaths by suicide and drug overdose continue to claim more of your lives because it's more the difference between the root people of God, not the fake people claiming to be Hebrews because they Europeans who've taken the name because of the financial benefits of claiming the promises that God has promised to bless the people who claim to be his people. So the only reason that German Europeans claim to be fake children of Abraham is because there are so many promises of financial prosperity to the children of Abraham. But what the ignorant German European fails to realize is all of God's promises to Abraham and his children are the same promises that he has always made to Adam and Eve and all of their children. And he made the same promises to Noah and Noah's wife and Noah's 3 sons and his 3 sons' wives. And every last one of those covenants that he made with Adam and Eve, Noah, and 4 other families is identical to the covenant that he made with Abraham. Abraham's covenant isn't more superior. It isn't anything. And it is contingent. It is always contingent on the children executing faithfully the clauses within the covenant to be able to claim the blessings found and deposited inside the covenant. If they do not execute their end of the bargain, their actions, their deeds, it doesn't matter that these Germans claim to be are faking like they're Hebrews because they want to go around the world and steal the wealth of the world and then use a shield of we're Abraham's children, so we get to manage the finances because, look, the Bible said Abraham's children will be blessed financially. This is all these Germans have done since the Hebrews rejected their Messiah. The Germans said, if you're going to worship our Caesar, then we're going to steal the claims to your covenant. But now they're simply documenting that the same thing is happening to us that happened to them when they did not fulfill their end of the bargain. You can claim to be Abraham's children all you want. If you do not live the life that all of the ancestors before Abraham lived in the covenant that produced the prosperity, then you're only fooling yourself and your descendants. And because the common European, this is what they call you, you're the Commonwealth, because they flooded your neighborhoods and your communities and your high schools and your children and your millennials with drugs, regardless of them claiming that you're a European. They've done the same thing in your neighborhoods, in your high schools, to your babies. The difference between the root children of God is, because we've been planted in this all our lives, enduring this type of pressure to be faithful to our covenant is nothing new to us. This is piece of cake. It's a walk in the park. Remaining faithful to our covenant under pressure is nothing new to us. It's what we do. What's up, Keyshawn? Hello? Hello? All right, good. But because Europeans have been lied to, my brothers and sisters, if y'all stop identifying with these brands that they gave y'all, I tell people of color the same thing when they identify with being black, African American, Negro. None of that is what the Creator called his children. And when Europeans identify with being a European and identify with being white or identify with being a Latino, European Latino, or an Arab, a European Arab, there's none of this is, none of these terms existed. A European is a faith, it's a belief system in a goddess. The Greeks and Romans created gods to mimic the gods that the Egyptians and the Babylonians was worshiping. And when they created the goddess Europa, they created the lands dedicated to Europa, and they called it Europe. And the people born dedicated to Europa, they call Europeans. And if you claim that as who you are, then you claim everything what goes with you being dedicated to as a sacrificial offering, commonwealth to a goddess. And the difference in your community is because you're not used to enduring. Because people lied to you and told you that you're superior. People lied to you and told you that you're the greatest civilization ever. That Greece and Rome have created they ain't create nothing. So then when Europeans experience what the Greeks and Romans always experienced, it's too much for you to handle because you've been living a lie the whole time. So your people, when your people go back to what the Greeks and the Romans truly were living like before they went down to Egypt and learned how to read the stars and learn science and mathematics from the Egyptians, who are, all you got to do is go to Sudan. All you got to do is go to Ethiopia. That's what an Egyptian looks like. The darkest people on the earth. So now when y'all people experience what life truly is, what the Greeks and Romans truly lived, and you see no way of getting back to the lie that they told you, yo, we were the greatest civilization ever. So y'all kill yourselves. Well, all you got to do is, Joseph was sent not to save his people only. The God of Joseph covenant was a covenant for all of his whole creation. And Joseph implemented a financial plan to save the whole world and did it. And the Pharaoh that knew not God, only way to prosperity was to enslave, kill children, artificially manipulate the numbers of the population so that his people would appear to be superior in numbers. Why not just get back to the faithfulness with the Creator? You got the blueprint of the other Pharaoh and Joseph saving the whole world. No, but y'all want the gods of Europe, but the prosperity from the God of heaven. And so this is what it looks like when time is breaking down the lies that they sold to y'all. Drug overdoses alone took 70% of lives in 2017, the highest number ever recorded for a single year. Yeah, it was cool in the 80s when it was in inner cities. It was cool. When it was crack, it was cool. Y'all didn't mind allowing them to label our women as crack babies. I mean, at welfare queens and crack babies, and y'all didn't mind the labels of those animals, and y'all didn't mind them policing policing urban inner city neighborhoods, giving mandatory minimums 5-10 years for possession of small vials of crack, while all in y'all communities, people all in the suburbs, all in the middle class, all in the upper middle class, colleges all across the country, ever since the 60s, they've been doing the same amounts of coke, heroin, acid, ecstasy, everything, weed, powder, everything you could name, angel dust, speed, barbiturates. They've been popping pills, Valium, everything since Leave It to Beaver. Europeans been doing coke, doing drugs, insane amounts, and no harassment, no nothing. It's cool when y'all did it. Y'all made it. Y'all allowed them to brand the people who don't even do drugs people y'all had to artificially manufacture and force drugs into their whole system. Y'all let them create this narrative, and now they done turned the narrative back on the suburbs. They done turned it on y'all. It's Ohio. It's Dayton, Ohio. It's West Virginia. It's Appalachia, Tennessee. The opioid epidemic is in European, suburban, upper middle class. The very thing that you create. This is called the golden rule. This is called the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, they are looking at European communities. Drug overdoses alone took 70,237 lives in 2017 alone. The highest number ever recorded for a single year. Your millennials, your future, they're zombies. They're zombies. Because y'all thought Woodstock was cute when they was selling sex, drug, and rock and roll to y'all community. Y'all thought Studio 57 in New York, y'all thought that was cute. Oh yeah, that was cute. They also telling you why y'all populations is not growing. They telling you all of the things that's keeping your population suppressed, and when you already can't compete without any outside factors, when you're already the reproduction minority. Listen to me, my fair-skinned brothers and sisters. There is no European majority anywhere in the world. This is what Time magazine is trying to tell you. There's never has been. Ever. And I'm only saying this so you can wake up before it's too late. You cannot win with the European lies. The history, the education, the science. You can't. You can only partner up with a God-sent Joseph of your generation. With a God-sent Son of God in the everlasting covenant who is sent to remind all of the brothers and sisters of humanity of the everlasting covenant that we all could return to and thrive. Any other counterfeit is going to be death and destruction, and your own people that you associate with are doing it to you. I warned you. You keep claiming the Europeans. This is what Europeans are doing to Europeans. You can't keep claiming that you're white. It is so-called white presidents, white business owners, white politicians, so-called. Yeah. This is your 45, 44 European presidents did this to you. 45 of them. Deaths by suicide rose by 3.7% between 2016 and 2017. Up. Europeans can't take it. They can't take it. However, the report shows continuing declines in heart disease and cancer deaths. The cancer death rate fell by 2.1%, reflecting better screening, detection, failing rates of smoking. What they won't tell you, what they won't tell you, my European brothers and sisters, what they won't tell you is the health message, the health knowledge, the knowledge of how to eat, to live and not live to eat. Y'all know the Europeans didn't have that. Even in they lie that they tell y'all about Thanksgiving, they still admit that that Native American taught the so-called Europeans when they came over how to plant and bring forth a harvest. They tell y'all, even in the lie that they tell y'all, that they came over on the Nina Pinta Santa Maria, and the first settlers that came, that winter was so harsh and they was dying like flies. Listen, man, they was coming over by hordes. They couldn't, listen, they left Europe with a black death, with bubonic plague, with starvation. You have monarchs in Europe with a feudalistic system where peasants, Europe was full of European peasants. They created the same peasantry in the United States. Europeans have always enslaved their own people. You saw Braveheart. Longshanks, his Britain, was running over into Scotland, enslaving the Scottish. Not just the Scottish, all of Britain was enslaved too. But the way the European do it is, because the British crown had the crown, the British people felt pride in the fact that their king was subjecting the Scottish. So though the people don't enjoy any of the prosperity, but because they live in the country of the king that's oppressing the other European countries, they take pride and they go and they enforce the oppression, even though they are slaves, peasants, starving. That is the concept of Europeans. The French did it. The Dutch did it. You had these monarchs who had these nobles, and then they had the knights. The knights and the nobles robbed their own people, treated their own people horrible, taxed their own people, stole from their own people, ate like kings, left y'all out there as peasants. Then y'all come to the land and y'all don't even know how to farm. Y'all don't even know how to bring forth. Y'all hop on some boats. Y'all come over here. Of course, if you've been a peasant, if you ain't been growing corn and you ain't how you gonna come over to America and create yup. Nobody asked the question. Y'all don't ask them questions. If y'all was feudal slaves in Europe, how you gonna bring prosperity over here when you don't know how to create prosperity? Europe wasn't prosperous. The Vatican Church was the extractor of all of the wealth of Europe. The Vatican was prosperous. The kings in the European kingdoms were prosperous. European people were not prosperous. And y'all came here and got health, not from Native Americans. The same people of color that Greece and Rome went down into Egypt and studied sciences from, our ancestors, our ancestors have been trading with Egypt, have been trading with Ethiopia by sea, the Phoenicians, the Carthaginians, Carthage, Phoenicia, Tyre, the Sidonians. These are descendants of Cush, descendants of Ham. Controlled the waterways of the world for thousands of years. These are the individuals who saved the Native Americans when the Europeans came over here, who taught Alexander the wannabe great. Caesar went down into Egypt, studied under Cleopatra. So, when y'all got a chance to conquer, and y'all got a chance to to teach people of color in the USA to embrace the same idolatry of Rome that the Europeans had embraced, then they no longer had any type of advantage. Then when you start giving people of color diagrams and pyramids on how to eat, when a fake Food and Drug Administration manufactures processed food that never existed before in Earth's history, this Western manufactured processed death, the Europeans don't eat it. The Europeans gave people of color on plantations a diet of the worst scrap left on the plantation. And because our people went through a period where they lost their identity, they did. The people who gave them that identity and that food structure, they don't practice it themselves. So when you look at your cancer rates, and when you look at the diabetes and the high blood pressure in communities of color, just know that's because, just like the drug war on drugs, you guys have benefited from an artificial war to eliminate the threat and the population that's not supernaturally growing when there are no outside forces. So these are fake numbers about Europeans having good heart rates and cancer being down and all of that. expanded vaccination against HPV-related cancers and other public health advances. They try and help y'all not